أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Repeat after me الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله نويت سنة الاعتكاف. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the one who recites salawat upon me once, Allah showers 10 mercies upon him. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Speak the screen. Keep an eye on it because it has a limit. Jazakallah khair for everyone to come to the course today. Inshallah we should be able to learn a lot about Zakat today. Misconceptions that are amongst the Muslim community regarding Zakat. Everything we will be inshallah trying to cover within this hour or so, or an hour and a half inshallah. I hope the sisters can see as well. If they have any questions, they can write it on the Skype. If they go into the laptop and they can just write it up on the Skype, it will just come up on the screen as well, so that I can read any questions that you have. If not, you can also, if you got my number, then you can just send in questions in through that as well. So first of all, before we actually start, just a few things that I want to go over. Number one is that, alhamdulillah, we are all here and we are all Muslims, and Allah gives us Iman without even asking for it. We was born into a Muslim family. And this is such a great ni'mat, a great blessing of Allah, that we don't have to strive to seek Iman and we don't have to go out for it. It's our doorstep, it's the gold on the plate. But now, how can we keep safe what we have got given? And how can we keep on making our Iman stronger and stronger? Just one point that is of concern, and Aqidah point, that Iman does not increase or decrease, but the strength does increase and decrease. So sometimes you might feel your Iman is weak, and sometimes you might feel it's strong. And the way that you can make your Iman strong is by knowledge. Why? Because knowledge is what makes you have the ma'rifat, the knowledge of Allah. When you realize and come to know of what things I have to do as a Muslim, what things I have to stay away from as a Muslim, then this will be a means for you getting closer to Allah. So you getting closer to Allah is your Iman becoming stronger. So we should try our best to attend these lectures, these classes regarding knowledge of Islam, and it's even more important than the worldly knowledge. Rather than learning the worldly knowledge, if you learn the knowledge of Islam, that is much more important and more of a fazilah, more of a blessing. So we try to get more and more people to attend these courses. These courses are not, I don't get paid for this, okay? I don't get paid to teach you guys. I'm doing it all fi sabilillah. I just want the community of Doncaster to have the knowledge of Islam so they can stay away from the wrong. And the more knowledge we have, the better community we will be. Why? Because the knowledge removes ignorance. And when there's ignorance in the community, that's when there's more sins. And when there's more sins, that's when the community is a bad place. So we want to try and make Doncaster the place where it's got a Madani, side to it. Where when someone comes into Doncaster and he looks at the Muslims of Doncaster, he knows that yes, these are the true Muslims. How we should follow Islam, this is how we should follow Islam. We should look at the Muslims of Doncaster and see how we follow Islam. So that is inshallah my mission and my aim as well. And hopefully every single person in this room, even the sisters as well, they should have this mission and aim as well, that they are going to make Doncaster a better place. So try your best to, whenever these courses come up, spread the word, make sure people come and attend these lessons inshallah. And just a small narration regarding those people who are students of knowledges, or those who are alim, the scholars of Islam. So mashallah, the brothers and sisters are here, they're all students of knowledge. So the blessing or the benefit of the student of knowledge that has been mentioned in narrations is that if a student of knowledge passes by a certain village, and that village has a graveyard in it, he just passes by and he doesn't even look at it, he doesn't even notice that there's a graveyard there, he doesn't even know, he didn't even read anything. He was just in his own world, maybe on his phone, and he just walked past by or drove by a graveyard. Then due to the blessings of him being a student of knowledge, Allah relieves the punishment of the grave amongst the graveyard there for 40 days. This is just the mere passing of that student of knowledge or that scholar of Islam. So we should try our best. If this is the status of those who are studying knowledge and just passing by a graveyard that they don't even know, then what will be the status of that person himself? Will he get punished in the grave? If a scholar who passes by a graveyard, the punishment of the graveyard is lifted, will that scholar himself be punished in the grave? So it's something to really ponder upon, that if we become students of knowledge and become scholars of Islam, it will be means of us being safeguarded from the torments and the punishment of the grave. So on to the topic inshallah today is Zakat, the brief presentation regarding the Hanafi rulings of Zakat. So first of all, let's quickly go over the classification of terms, which is quite important. We go over it through every slide that we do, every presentation that we do, so then it becomes refreshed in our minds. So right at the top we have Fard. So Fard means obligatory. The opposite of it is haram. So something which is rewardsome, and if you reject a Fard action, it is kufr. So because Zakat is Fard, so for example, if someone said, I don't have to pay Zakat, I don't have to give Zakat, then they are actually classed as kafir and they will be out of the fold of Islam. And it is haram to not pay Zakat. Okay, so that's how we do the differentiation. The next category is wajib. So these terms you have heard quite a lot and I'll be using them as well. So wajib is necessary, it's also rewardsome, and it's also necessary to do. It will be sinful if you actually miss a wajib out. But the difference between this and the fard is that to reject it is not kufr. It is not disbelief. The opposite of that is makruh tahrimi. Makruh tahrimi, this is a severely disliked action, the opposite of wajib, and it is sinful to do it. Then you have sunnat al-mu'akkada. This is a emphasized sunnat. Mu'akkada means the thing that is emphasized, is rewardsome to do it, and blameworthy if you miss it once or twice. But if you make a habit of missing a sunnat al-mu'akkada action, for example like the 4 sunnahs of Zuhr, then it actually is a sinful action. The opposite of that is isa'at, which basically means a bad act, and it's the opposite of sunnat al-mu'akkada. Then you have sunnat al-ghayr mu'akkada. This is not emphasized. Ghayr means not, and mu'akkada means emphasized. So not emphasized sunnah, and this is rewardsome if you do it, but if you miss it out, you won't be sinful for it. The opposite of that is makruh tanzihi. Okay, so a lot of people get mixed up with makruh tahrimi and makruh tanzihi. So tahrimi, the one that's got the ha in it, that is the sinful one, and tanzihi, the one that's got the ha in it, that is the non-sinful one. And this is disliked, but if you do end up doing a makruh tanzihi act, you won't be sinful for it. And same goes for if you miss a ghayr mu'akkada act, you won't be sinful for it, even if you've never done it in your whole life. Then you have the mustahab, which is also known as nafl. So these actions or these things that you do, it's rewardsome, desirable to do, but if you miss it out, there's no sin at all. The opposite of that is khilaf awla, which means it is not sinful to do the action. So for example, starting your speech or whatever you're doing with Bismillah. It is mustahab to start things with Bismillah. So if I don't start things with Bismillah, it is khilaf awla. Meaning it's not sinful and it's just a non-preferred action. Then we have the last category, which is at the bottom, which is mubah. Mubah basically means which is permissible, something that is permissible. Walking, talking, drinking, eating, okay? These are all permissible things. But the point here to know is that if you have a good intention, for example, I'm walking to the masjid, I'm eating so I can gain the power to worship Allah, I am drinking so I become nourished and worship Allah, or I'm talking, I'm going to be talking good, or reading the Quran, then in that way, this will actually be a mustahab act. It will turn into a mustahab act, which means you'll be rewarded for it. And the reason for this is because the Prophet ﷺ said, which is the first hadith of Bukhari as well. Most hadith books you'll find that this will be the first hadith, and it's got such an importance to it that إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that the a'mal, the actions, depend upon the intention. If your intentions are correct, then the a'mal, the actions that you do, they will also be correct as well. If they are incorrect, then the actions will also be incorrect. So whatever intentions you can make, you should try your best to make them. For example, now that we're sat in this class, if someone just came here with no intention, he won't be rewarded. He'll just take what he's taken and that's it. But if someone had intentions, I'm going to come here, learn the deen of Allah, I'm going to try and spread this to other people, I'm going to try and act upon what has been said, I'm going to try and act upon the Quranic ayat which says to spread the word of Allah, I'm going to try and act upon the ahadith which encourages to learn knowledge. If he makes all these good intentions, he will be rewarded even more. So more good intentions you make, the more reward you will get. Anyone has any questions regarding this? No? Okay, we'll move on then, inshallah. So, zakat. Zakat in the Quran, where was this mentioned? How is this presented in the Quran? Many ayat discuss the virtues and the importance of zakat. For example, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 34, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Okay, that establish prayer and pay zakat. So these two actions have been mentioned in the Quran together, to pray and also to give zakat. And remember, anything that comes from the Quran, in most cases, it gives the benefit of fardiyah, meaning that that action will become a fard action. So because Allah has mentioned to give zakat and to praise salah, so that's why these two actions are now fard actions to do. And that is why if you disbelieve in it, it will be kufr. Why? Because when you disbelieve in a fard action, because that comes from the Quran, and to believe every single letter in the Holy Quran is necessary upon a Muslim. If he doesn't believe in the Quran, he's classed as a kafir. So that's why disbelieving in fard action is actually disbelieving in the Quran, which constitutes to becoming a kafir. The second ayah, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةٌ تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. The O beloved Prophet, realize the poor due, i.e. the zakat, out of their wealth to purify them and cleanse them within. And we'll understand why it is being mentioned in regards to cleanliness and purifying. And Surah Araf 156, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسَعَتْ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَسَأَكْتُبُهَا لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. And my mercy encompasses all things. Then soon I shall prescribe it for those who fear God and pay zakat. So the mercy of Allah is upon those who fear God and pay zakat. Zakat in regards to hadith, where's the mentioning of zakat in a hadith? Just to point here that zakat became fard in the second hijr, the second year of Hijri before Ramadan, and there's many hadith regarding the virtues of zakat. For example, this one, which is a muttafaqun alayh hadith, a hadith which is classed as muttafaqun alayh means it is in both Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari, and Sahih Muslim as well. The bunya al-Islam ala khams, shahadata an la ilaha illallah, wa aqam as-salata, wa ata az-zakata, wa hajja wa sawma Ramadan. That Islam is based upon 5 things: to testify that there is no God other than Allah, and to establish prayer, and to give zakat, and to perform the pilgrimage, and to do the fast, or to perform the fast of Ramadan. So these have mentioned the 5 pillars of Islam, and amongst them is zakat. Another hadith from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that the Holy Prophet said, إِذَا أَدَيْتَ زَكَاةَ مَالِكًا فَقَدْ قَدَيْتَ مَا عَلَيْكَ. That when you have paid the zakat, you have fulfilled whatever is upon you, whatever is necessary upon you. And the reference for that was in Sunan Ibn Majah and Sunan al-Tirmidhi. And in another hadith, the Holy Prophet ﷺ says, which is in Tirmidhi as well, that inna sadaqata la tuftiyu ghadaba rabbi wa tafda'u maytat as-su'. That indeed charity extinguishes the Lord's anger and it protects against the evil death. And another hadith in Ibn Majah, which the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Laysa fil mali haqqun siwa zakat. That there is no due upon the mal except for zakat. So paying zakat is the due upon your mal, your wealth. Definition of zakat. So literally, the word zakat means to purify or to grow. Zakiya yazkiyu, meaning that to purify something. So that's why you might have heard of the word tazkiyatun nafs. It comes from the same root, to purify the soul. And tazkiyatul mal is actually zakat. So zakat spiritually is purification for the remainder of wealth, and it causes one's wealth to grow. Therefore, it is classified and called zakat. The applied meaning, zakat is to give a specific portion of one's wealth, which is made compulsory by Sharia, to such a poor Muslim by making him the owner of such wealth, who is not a Hashmi. I'm going to, inshallah, discuss this more in detail regarding who is the Hashmis. He says here, just a brief one, Hazrat Sayyidina Ali, Ja'far, Aqil, Abbas, and Harith bin Abdul Muttalib. And there must be not any personal benefit in mind, and he should only do so to please Allah. So the sole purpose should not be that, I'm giving it because I'm making that person, have a better life. It's me that's making him get a better life. No. It should be that I'm giving what Allah has bestowed upon me, giving a share from that, and inshallah, I'm giving it for the sake of Allah. Allah can give him whatever increase he wants. And I'm only doing it for the sake of attaining the pleasure of Allah and attaining His reward. So conditions of zakat. It's important that these conditions are fulfilled, and as well as that understood completely, because without these conditions, zakat will not be correct to give. So the first few things that we need to understand is that zakat is fard upon every sane, which means someone that is not crazy or someone that hasn't got a mental illness, and who is baligh, i.e. the one who has reached the age of puberty, and free Muslim, i.e. someone that is not a slave. And which person does, if you got these three categories, so after this you need an extra 6 conditions for you to give zakat and for zakat to be fard upon you. Just a little bit regarding being sane. So what is, when someone has a mental disability or a mental illness, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have to pay zakat. It has to be such a mental illness that if you, for example, give him a £10 note, he will end up burning it or ripping it. He wouldn't know what it is. So that is the type of mentality of mental illness he has to reach for him not to give zakat. Some people, unfortunately, they have a slight dyslexia, or that might have Down syndrome or something like this, but they still know what they're doing. In that case, if they have money, they will still have to pay the zakat. Someone who is baligh, so a person reaches the age of puberty, he has to pay zakat. And what is the age of puberty? For a male, it's from the age of 12 to 15, and for a female, it's from the age of 9 to 15. And this is according to the lunar calendar. So for a male, when he has his first nocturnal emission, within that age frame, then he is classified as being baligh. And as soon as he reaches the age of 15 and no signs have occurred, no nocturnal emission has occurred, then automatically he will become baligh himself. And for a woman or for a girl is when she's from the age of 9 to 15. Within that time, she has her first menstruation cycle. If that happens within that time frame, then from that time, from that day, she will be classified as a baligha, a woman in Islam, and also salah and fasting and all these type of things will be necessary upon her as well. And if she reaches the age of 15 and no signs of menstruation have occurred, then automatically she will be classified as a baligha, a adult woman in Islam. And being free Muslim, that doesn't really apply nowadays, so that's, I think, understood. So now we're going to move on to the conditions. So there are 6 conditions that have to be met in order for you to pay your zakat and for zakat to be fard upon you. So if you do have, your phones or something, you can write these down. If not, inshallah, if brothers or sisters want the presentation after, they can just message me, and inshallah I'll send them the presentation as well. If you do have any questions, inshallah, they will be answered. Just keep them on hold for now because they might be answered. We're going to go through each one of these separately as well. So the first one is sahibun nisab. So sahibun nisab means someone that possesses the nisab amount. I'm going to go into that into detail. Number 2, male nami, which means a growth in wealth. Number 3, qabza, which means possession. That should be possession of possession. Number 4, extra from hajat asliya, so extra from necessary needs, you can say hajat asliya. Number 5, free from any dain, which is debt. And number 6, 1 full year to pass. So the first condition, which was sahibun nisab, so what does this actually mean? So nisab is the amount which is specified by Sharia, which if a person owns, then zakat becomes fard upon him or her. And what is the nisab? To be the owner of nisab, this means that one should own the wealth to the value of nisab, which is $7.5, which is 87.48 grams of gold, or $52.5, which is 612.36 grams of silver, or its equivalent in cash or good trades in excess of one's personal needs. So basically, if someone possesses some amount of money which equals to the amount of 612 grams of silver, or he has silver which is equal to 612 grams or more, or he has gold which is equal to 87.48 grams or more, or he has good for business, he has stock for business. So all these things, if he puts them together and they come out to equivalent to the gold, to the silver rate, then that person is classed as sahib nisab. And inshallah, I'll explain. It might sound a little bit difficult for now, but inshallah, I'll explain this. But just keep in mind for now, that the owner of nisab is someone who has the amount of gold, which is 87 grams, or amount of silver, which is 612 grams, or the equivalent to this in money or in business stock. Number 2, male nami. Nami means wealth that has potential to grow. And this growth will be in 3 ways. Number 1, through the business. So either you're going to have a profit in your business and the money or your wealth will grow through this means. Number 2, leaving the animals in the wild for them to reproduce. And I'll explain that inshallah in the later slides. Or number 3, male khalti, which means natural wealth, which is gold or silver. So through business, so when you attain money and you invest in that money, through business, it has a potential or it will actually grow. So that is now classified as male nami, meaning wealth which is growing. When it talks about leaving the animals in the wild for them to reproduce, so this basically means when animals are reproducing, that is more money you are getting. Why? Because you're going to have more cattle, you're going to have more animals available to give you, for your farming or for food, etc. So that is actually a increase of wealth in terms of animals. And in terms of male khalqi, which is natural gold and silver, so the rates of gold and silver are always fluctuating. So they're always going to have a potential for it to grow. So that's why if you have gold or silver, that is classified as mali nami, meaning growing wealth. And it says here that also if someone wants to increase, he can. So basically that means even if, for example, you've got cash in your accounts and you haven't touched it or anything, it's just laying there, £200 to say, it still has the potential to grow. Why? Because you can still put money in. You can still have money, more and more money into the account. So that is why money is also classified as mali nami, as potential to grow wealth. And it says here that normal currency is also included in the mali nami as well. The third condition is qabza. This means possession, not procession. So that's an error there. So this means that the money to be in your possession. The money has to be in your possession, in your milkiyat. The Arabic word for possession is milkiyat. Okay, so it has to be in your possession. That you can take from it as and when you wish. So whenever you want to take from that money, you can take from that money. So if that is possible for you, then that means that that money is in your possession. So it says here, i.e. it is not given to someone as a deposit. So when you give someone money as a deposit, that here, have £200, and in exchange, I'll take this product, and then later on I can take that money back. But that money is not in your possession. Why? Because you still have the other person's product in your possession. So once you give that possession back to him, that's only the time you can hold back the possession of that money that's with him. So that's why, in terms of deposit, that is not classified as money in your possession. It's in someone else's possession at the moment. So if you have money and you have given, for example, some money in deposit, so there will be no zakat upon that money that you have given in deposit. Number 4, extra from hajat asliya. So hajat asliya, i.e. the necessities of life, are those things which are usually needed, and without them one will face a serious difficulty or problems with them being absent. So an example of that is a house. So without a house, you'll face difficulty. Clothes that you're wearing, obviously you'll face difficulty if you don't have clothes. Means of transport, this includes a car, motorcycle, etc. Bills, tax, without paying bills or tax, you're going to be facing difficulty. Mobile phone nowadays, if you don't have mobile phones, you can face difficulty. And also the top up that you put into the mobile phone. Books of knowledge for the deen. If you have a certain field that you need books for example, you might be a doctor, you'll need books for that. Or you might be a scholar, you'll need a book for that, lawyer, etc. So if you need books, and also tools for different possessions. If you're a builder, you got loads of tools, chainsaw, this, that. These are all things which are classed as hajat asliya. So basically things that you need or things that you use. So these things are called hajat asliya. So what will you do? You will deduct the amount of money needed for these things, and then you will calculate the zakat. So when it says extra from hajat asliya, so when you go into your total of zakat, you will deduct that amount of money. So for example, your bills might be, a monthly £100, £200. So you'll deduct £200 from your zakat when you're going to be calculating. Why? Because that's hajat asliya. Just say for example you got a phone contract, that's £50 a month. Deduct £50 a month from your zakat because it's hajat asliya. Okay? Maybe your books cost £200 that you have to buy. So deduct £200 from your zakat total, that is hajat asliya. So anything that you need to use or need to, it's necessary for you to use for your work of field or life, you will deduct that from the total of your zakat. And inshallah, at the moment it might be feeling a bit briefly going over, but I'll go into more detail and explain it very soon inshallah. The fifth condition is free from dain. Dain in Arabic means debt. So if you have any debt on you, then you'll have to deduct that as well from the total of zakat. So some people, it's a misconception that, I owe such and such person 100 quid, that's it, I don't have to give zakat anymore. That's not the case. If you owe such an amount of money to someone that when deducted, it becomes below the rate of nisab, only then you don't have to pay zakat. But if you owe, for example, someone, if you got £5,000 in your bank and you owe someone 100 quid, if you deduct that 100 quid out, how much is left? 4,900. So that means you still have to pay zakat. Why? Because it's above the nisab rate. But just say, for example, you owe someone 4,900. Now if you deduct that, you'll only have £100 left in your bank. So then in that case, there will be no zakat necessary upon you. The sixth condition is for 1 year to pass. This is very widely misunderstood, and people do not understand this problem at all. What people believe is that, I'll tell what people believe, but then I'll tell you what the actual thing is. So people think that if I've got £100 today, now I have to wait a full year for the year to pass, and then I can pay zakat on this £100 that I've got would be today. If you put that is not the case. The actual condition is that you'll first note down when you became sahibun nisab. So whenever you got the equivalent of 612 grams of silver, the equivalent money of that in your account, that means that day you became sahibun nisab. You became the possessor of the nisab, of the rate for zakat. Now, the next year, when that day comes again and that time comes again, if you still have money above the nisab rate, then zakat is necessary upon you. So the example here that is given is that if Zayd became the owner of nisab on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal at 12:30 p.m. So on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal at 12:30, this person called Zayd, he became sahib nisab, the possessor of the amount of money in which zakat has to be paid upon. Now, next year, 12th of Rabiul Awwal at 12:30, if he still owes, if he still has in possession more than the nisab rate, then zakat will be fard upon him. If he doesn't, then zakat is not fard upon Zayd at all. Has everyone understood that example? What people normally think is that every separate payment that you get, a full year has to pass by on that. So for example, today I've got 100 quid, a year has to pass by on that 100 quid. Tomorrow I've got 200, a year has to pass by on that 200. That is not the case. It's on the total amount of money you have in your possession on that date. That is when you will calculate the full year. So on that date, if you have, for example, if you have 600 quid on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, then next year, 12th of Rabiul Awwal, if you have above the nisab rate, just say nisab rate is £200, you have above £200, then zakat is still fard upon you. And you have to total the zakat on the total amount of money you've got in your account. That is the way that you will calculate it. And the calculation is not done upon the solar calendar, so not done upon June, July, August, etc. It's done based upon the Islamic lunar calendar. So you'll have to work out which day you became Sahib al-Nisab according to the lunar calendar, and then work out the full year after that. And if one delays in paying zakat without any valid reason, then he will be regarded as a sinner. So this was the shara'i, the conditions of zakat. And inshallah, once we go into towards the end, all these things will automatically be understood and they will come into your mind. But for now, just have a brief understanding of what I just said, inshallah. Now we're going to move on to the amwal zakat. This is the second section of zakat. Amwal zakat means upon which commodity, upon which things you have to pay zakat on. So there are 5 things that you have to pay your zakat on. Number 1, gold. Number 2, silver. Number 3, currency, which basically means cash. Number 4, business stock. And number 5, saima animals. We're going to go into these in detail. So gold. So once you have 7.5 tole of gold, which is 87 grams, or its equivalent in cash, then that means you have to pay your zakat on that money, on that gold. If it's less than that, then what will you do is you'll total up amount of the other things. So if you got a bit of gold, a bit of silver, a bit of cash, then you'll total the whole amount. And then if that goes over the value of nisab, then yes, you will calculate that as your zakat. In the zakat of gold and silver, one is allowed to give cash in accordance with the market value of gold and silver on the day when the zakat becomes fard for him to pay. So if you don't want to pay your zakat from gold, you can pay the equivalent of that in cash as well. So you don't have to take it out on the actual gold itself, you can take it out on the equivalent amount of cash. Silver, when you have 52.5 tole, which is equivalent to 612 grams of silver, if you have this amount of silver on you, then zakat, you will have to pay your zakat on it, or the equivalent of it in cash. And these days, because silver is cheaper compared to gold, so one becomes a holder of nisab with less money. So the ulama kiram these days have worked out the nisab of zakat according to silver and not according to gold. So in today's day and age, we're going to be calculating our zakat according to the silver. So the nisab rate will be according to the silver. Why? Because we look at the lowest commodity and we go with the lowest one. So in the market today, we're going to be looking at silver. Why? Because silver has the lowest rate. Let me just clarify one thing. So in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was only silver and gold and business stock. That's it. There wasn't anything else. So they didn't have, pounds or stuff like this, or currency or cash like we do, paper cash, or their cash for them was gold and silver. That's what they used to use in buying and selling. So now, because in today's day and age we have to calculate the zakat, and no one in today's day and age, trades with gold or silver. So now we have to look at whatever is equivalent to that in today's day and age commodity, and that is paper cash. So if you have that amount which is equivalent to the lowest category from the silver and gold, and in today's day and age silver, the rate of silver is lower than gold, so that's why we have to look at the lowest value for that. So now that we looked at the lowest value for that, that means that if we have the equivalent of that in cash, zakat becomes necessary upon us. If mixed metals, so there are three ways that we look at this. If the gold or silver is more, then we classify that gold and silver as, or that metal as, completely gold or silver. If it is equal, then it will be classified as that as well as gold or silver. If it is less, then we'll see that if the amount that is of gold and silver in the actual metal, if that calculates to the nisab amount, then zakat is necessary. If it doesn't, then it won't be necessary. Currency, okay, so cash. So if you don't have any gold or silver or business stock, only cash in your bank, so if it is the equivalent of the silver rate, which is 612 grams, then zakat is due upon that money. So today's rate, which is calculated at £248 and 1 pence, if you have that amount of money in your bank, you are classified as sahib nisab. Why? Because this is the amount of amount in equivalent to the silver, the 52.5 tole of silver amount, which is the silver itself. So today, if someone possesses £248 and 1 pence, zakat will be necessary upon him with the conditions. Zakat has to be given on the combined value of the gold, silver, cash and trade goods. So some people think that, I don't have 52.5 tole, or I don't have 7.5 tole of gold, so zakat I don't have to pay. I only have a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver. So that is not the case. What you'll actually do is you'll gather all of the three things together, the gold, silver, and the cash that you got. And if it equals to £248 and 1 pence, then that means you are sahib nisab. And once a year goes past, you'll have to pay zakat on that money. One must give 40th part of the zakatable money. So from your wealth, you have to give the 40th part, which is 2.5%. So the mathematical calculation is you'll do 2.5 divided by 100 times by the amount of money you have to pay, the zakatable money basically. So an example here is, so if I've got about £1,000 in my bank, or £1,000 I've got in total of my zakat that I have to pay, so 2.5% of that will be £25. So look at how small amount of money you have to pay zakat. Out of the £1,000, it's only £25. And that is all that is further upon you, nothing more. So why is it that, brothers and sisters in today's day and age find it difficult and hard to pay zakat on such a small amount? It's something to, realize and think that how much wealth Allah has given us, and from that Allah is only asking for us a little bit of an amount. If we got £1,000, Allah is only asking for £25 to give to the poor. Why can't we give that much amount of money if Allah has bestowed us with so much? Something to ponder upon. Business stock. So anything that is classified as business stock, zakat is also necessary upon that. But it is important to know that it has to be brought with the intention of business. So like for example, I've got 10 mobile phones. Now when I brought these mobile phones, I didn't buy them for the intention of business. I bought them for the intention I'm going to use them for my personal use. Now zakat is not necessary upon them. But if I bought 10 mobile phones and when I purchased them, I said I'm going to buy these and I'm going to sell them off, then zakat will be necessary upon them. Why? Because that is classified as business stock. And just say for example now I've got these 10 mobile phones, I bought them for my personal use. A year goes past by and I think, I don't need to use all of these anymore. I'm going to sell them off. Even then, zakat won't be necessary upon them. Why? Because what is looked at is the actual intention when purchasing. If the purchasing intention was of selling, of doing business, then it will be classified as zakat. If it wasn't, then no matter, even if later on the intention changes, that will still won't classify as that product being zakatable product or being a business trade product. The wholesaler, he must pay zakat on his goods, on his trading goods at a wholesale price, and the retailer must pay his zakat according to the retail price. And if goods are taken on credit, then that should be deducted from the amount, from the total. When you do the total, that should be deducted, and the zakat must be paid upon the remaining amount. The fifth thing that you have to pay zakat on, which doesn't apply to anyone sat in this room, I don't think, is saima animals. Saima animals are those animals, it is the Arabic word saima, and this means that those animals are grazed in the wild and the owner does not get food for them. They graze and they eat on their own accord. So them type of animals are called saima animals. And if a year passes by upon them animals, you have to pay zakat from them. But because no one here is a farmer, I don't think anyone owes any cattle anyway, so that doesn't really apply. It's only for farmers, so we'll move on inshallah. So how to calculate zakat? This is probably the important point, and the bit in which I'm going to explain everything over what we've just covered, the overview. And inshallah, if there's any questions, please do ask straight away as well. If the sisters want to ask on the Skype, I'll have a look. Maybe there might be some questions, if there is any. If they want, they can just text on the Skype here, and then okay. Is it allowed to? Okay, I think that was just a tester. I'll have a look at that inshallah. If there's any questions, write them in and then I'll have a look at them after we've done this slide. So how to calculate zakat? I'll stand up for this inshallah. I think it's a bit more easy for me in terms of explaining. So how to calculate zakat? So what will you look at? First of all, you look at how much gold do I have. You'll write down the amount of gold that you have total, even if it's less than 7.5 tole, which is I think I said it was 16 grams, or whatever it said in the slide. I can't remember the grams now, but 7.5 tole. So if you have that amount, or less, or more, whatever it is, you're going to be writing that down. Okay? So remember, because it doesn't have to reach 7.5 tole for you to give zakat on that. It can be less than that. The only reason why you look at 7.5 is only if you have gold. If you only have gold, that is when you look at 7.5. Other than that, if you have less than that, you will still write it down. So you write down the total amount of gold. Then the same goes for the silver. You look at how much silver have I got. That even includes for men, if you got a ring as well. Okay, so normally people don't use, you think about that as well, and they think that I'm using the personal item, so there's no zakat on it. It's still classed as given zakat. Any silver that is in your possession, you will write that down. For the sisters, even them as well, if they're wearing any jewelry or have any gold at all or silver at all, they will still have to write everything down. And for the husband, whose wife has got jewelry, some people believe that no, it's upon the husband to give the zakat. That is not the case. Whoever's milkiyat it is in, whoever's possession it is in, it will be classified as his product and he has to pay zakat on it, or she has to pay zakat on it. So if, for example, the gold is actually the husband's, but the wife is just wearing it, then the zakat is upon the husband, not the wife. Okay, so that is one point to consider as well. So you write down the total amount of silver. The next thing that you write down is the total amount that you got on hand. So basically you might have some cash lying around at the house, some in your pocket, etc. You know, a few hundred here and there. Write that down. Then you will look into your accounts. How much money you've got, if you've got one account, two accounts, however much accounts you have, you'll total the amount and write that down as well. And then if you're a businessman, you'll stock up your items and see how much they total to. So for example, if you've got 10 mobile phones and the retail price for the 10 phones is £2 just say, so then how much will it be for all 10? Simple math, 10 times 2. £20, okay? So you write down £20 there.
That's cheap for a while. How do it again?
I'll just give an example. Okay? So then after that you will see the total that is left. So you'll calculate the whole total, the total of the gold, the silver, the cash in hand, the bank accounts, the total value of goods, trade goods, you total all of that down, and then comes the next part. So, so one thing just to see is that once you've totaled all of that, if it comes more than £230, I think I said was today's rate, or £248, I think it was. So if it comes up to £248, then that means you have to pay your zakat on it. If it's less than that, then you don't have to pay zakat. Okay. Then what you'll do is you'll minus these extra things. For example, if you got debt that you have to pay someone 100 quid, minus that. If you got mortgage to pay, minus that. And what I mean by mortgage is, for example, mortgage is normally be on does it be monthly or yearly? You can set it on both, isn't it? You can have annually or monthly as well. So if it's monthly, just reduce the monthly the cost. If it's annually, reduce the annual cost. And then you'll deduct the Hajj Asliya things. So your bills, your tax, anything else that is Hajj Asliya. For example, I need to buy 10 books, minus 10 quid for each book. Okay, minus all that down. Then when you have your complete total, if still you are in nisab amount, then you have to pay your zakat. So if it's still £240 or more, then you have to pay zakat. If it's less, then there's no zakat at all. And if it's more than £248, that is just for today, by the way. It's not for each single time. You'll have to calculate each single. If you go to a website, Google it, you can find out the nisab rate. If it's that amount, it does not mean that you have to pay zakat right now. It depends. It depends upon if you had a full year passed by when you was sahib nisab first. So just say, for example, I'll give an example of a person. He's just started to work now and he's got his total to £248. And the day that he got it was the 1st of Muharram, just say. So now on that day, he calculated all of this and he said, I've got now £248 in my possession. Now zakat, I'm sahib nisab. He won't pay zakat there and then, he will pay zakat a year later. On the same day, on the 1st of Muharram, the same day, a year later. And if still he has £248 or more, then he will pay zakat. If he has less, then there is no zakat upon him. Understood? And then each year he will do the same. So he won't pay zakat for that year. The next year he will see again on that date if he still has money. If he doesn't, then there's no zakat. If he does, then he has to pay. The only time that the date will change of the year is once he becomes bankrupt. If he becomes to zero, no money at all, then his year date will change. So once he comes to zero, to say for example, on the 1st of Muharram, I got £238. I became sahib nisab on the 1st of Muharram. Now next year Muharram, I had £10 in my bank. I won't be paying zakat. Why? Because it's less than the nisab rate. But still, I will count my date and time. My date and time has not expired. It is still 1st of Muharram for me. So the year after, I will still check if I still got that amount. But just say, for example, in the middle of the year, on the 10th of Ramadan, I got £0 in my bank. Everything went. I spent it all. So in that case, my next time when I will check is once I become sahib nisab again. So for example, on the 10th of Ramadan, I came to zero, and then on Eid day, I got £250. So now I'm sahib nisab on Eid day. So now my years will start again from Eid. So each year, I'll check on Eid. On the 1st of Shawwal, how am I sahib nisab, yes or no? And then I have to look accordingly. And what do I have to pay? Do I have to pay the nisab rate in terms of zakat? Some people think, for example, the zakat is £250. Some people think I have to, if once I've total day, I have to just take out £250 and give it to zakat. That is not the case. £250 is a benchmark, is a mark where you see that am I above or below. If I'm above, I pay zakat. If I'm below, I don't pay zakat. So once I'm above, just say I've got £1,000, so that's above £250, isn't it? So now I will take out the zakat from £1,000, not 250. So out of 1,000, the payable amount will be £25. Has everyone understood in terms of how to calculate the zakat?
Just one question, I think, at the moment. In terms of the trade goods, is it also trade cash? Because it kind of fluctuates, if you like, along the year, and you don't really know until you've done your final accounts for the year.
Yeah.
What your situation is going to be. So that is, for example, cash fluctuates up and down, well, up or whatever in the business account, for example.
Yeah. So if you total, for example, your business on a later date, you don't need to look at it on that date. The day that you became nisab upon, you became sahib nisab, you'll just calculate it on that day.
Yeah, so I understand that. So, for example, let's say 1st of Ramadan, I'll sit down, do my Excel spreadsheet, work out the avs and mids. But at that point in time, the financial year for the business, for example, has not closed.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. I might have whatever, let's say £1,000 there, but I don't know how much of that £1,000 is going to be taken. So the deduction.
Yeah. So
I don't really know. So.
Okay. So the deduction.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So until it's all filed, with the accountants, and they've gone through the process, and they say, well, okay, this is your corporation tax, or this is your, or whatever the case may be, and then they say this is your net profit for that financial year. So at the moment, what I do is I just, because of that anomaly, I just kind of, I say, well, whatever it is,
pay it.
Just pay it, just to be on the safer side.
That would be the safe option, So if that is the case and your account's on a later date than your nisab date, then just pay it off,
or work out a lower threshold of tax, something that I'm certain that this amount of tax is definitely going to be taken away.
Yeah, definitely you can do that. So if you know confirmation that this amount I'm going to be taking out 100%, then take that out, minus that. But then what extra thing you will have to do is, once your year passes by, you'll have to see if there's anything extra that is left over. So if there's anything extra, then in that case we'll just minus that out at the end and just give that as zakat later.
One of the questions, is around the mortgage. So if the house is £200,000, so you don't take the full £2,000.
No, you don't take the full £2,000. So in mortgage, you won't take out the lump sum. You'll take out the actual annual or monthly, the amount of repayment that you give to the bank. So you'll take that out when calculating the zakat. You won't take out the lump sum amount of actually how much the house costs.
But what about student loans? Because obviously after
same goes for student loans. So student loans, even if you have a loan at the bank, whatever it is, mortgage, it all comes in the same category, and you'll just cancel how much you're paying on, if it's a weekly basis or monthly basis, on the actual day of your nisab date. Okay? Is that understood? The third section is masarif zakat. So who can you actually pay your zakat to? Now that we know the conditions, do I fulfill in actually paying zakat? Next thing was that what do I have to give zakat on? Now, who do I give zakat to? So there are 8 people mentioned in the Holy Quran, but 1 is actually mansukh, meaning it is not acted upon anymore. So there are 7, you can say, masarif zakat, people that you can give zakat to. So the first one is a faqir. A faqir. Someone who is faqir, you can pay your zakat to him. So who classifies as a faqir? So someone that is not sahib nisab, so someone that does not hold the nisab rate. And as well as this, the plus point is that he doesn't have extra goods in his possession, which is extra from Hajat al-Asriya, that calculate to the nisab amount as well. So let me explain. So for example, if someone has £10, he only has £10 on him, that's it, nothing else. He is definitely below the nisab rate. But now at home, he's got 4 or 5 freezers. One he's using, the other 3 he's not using, and he's got 3 or 4 TVs laying on the side, they're not in use. Then in that case, you will calculate the amount that it costs for that extra TVs and then extra fridges or freezers, and then if that goes over the nisab rate, then he is still not classed as a faqir. So this happens a lot in Pakistan. So you find someone in Pakistan, I'm going to give my zakat to this person. Now when you see he's got nothing, got money at all, but he's got extra things at home, he's got 2, 3 fridges at home extra, a few kettles, 1 or 2 microwaves, this type of stuff, or he's got extra gold, she's got extra gold or silver, then in that case you still can't give zakat to that person. Why? Because the total amount, when you look at the goods, if they calculate more than the nisab, then he is still classed as a not shari'i faqir, a non-shari'i faqir. But note here is that if he possesses the nisab rate, then zakat is necessary from the shari'i faqir. If he does not possess the nisab rate, but he still has extra stuff in home, he still doesn't need to give zakat. Why? Because zakat is not done upon things, extra things. There's no zakat on products. There's only zakat upon what we mentioned before, which was gold, silver, business stock, and money. The second person who you can give zakat to is a miskeen. Miskeen is someone that is completely destitute. He has no money at all. He doesn't even know where his next meal is going to be. He only has the clothes that he has on his body. Okay, so someone that doesn't have any money at all, and he can actually beg for money as well. It is halal for him to beg. So that is the second type of person you can give zakat to. The third is an amil, and this is not in use anymore. So an amil was a person that the hakim or the caliph, you can say, he appointed such and such a person that you're going to go around and collect the zakat and the ushur from the people. Ushur is basically something for the farmers that they have to give. It's a wajib for them to give for the farmers. That can be taught later on, inshallah. But at the moment, we're going to only look at zakat. So if the person was appointed by the hakim, he had to take the money from the people. You could give your zakat money to that person. The fourth one is a raqib. This does not apply anymore as well. This means a mukatib slave. So a mukatib slave is such a slave that his master or her master has said that once you have paid me such and such an amount of money, you are free to go. So you can actually pay for that slave, pay your zakat to that slave, so then he becomes free. So that is a raqib. The fifth one, or the sixth one I think it is, no, fifth, is a gharim. Gharim is such a person who is in debt, and he's in such an extent of debt that if he deducted that debt from his total, he will remain not sahib al-nisab anymore. So he won't be sahib al-nisab anymore. He won't be the possessor of nisab anymore. So you can give your zakat, etc., to that person so he can or she can remove their debt. The next one is fi sabilillah, meaning in the way of Allah. So this includes someone that if he wants to go for jihad, but he has no money, so you can pay him the money for jihad and say you can, go. But obviously this is not applicable anymore in today's day and age. Part B is if someone wants to go for Hajj, but he doesn't have the expenditure to do so, so he can take the zakat from the people and he can go for Hajj in that way. The next one is a student of knowledge. So a student of knowledge is someone that he is studying deen, he is studying the knowledge of Islam, and even if he's capable to work as well, you can still give him your zakat money. And they can also ask for the zakat money as well. If you pay for someone for Hajj, they can't ask that, can I have money to go on Hajj? But a student of knowledge, he can ask for money for your zakat money himself. And the other thing is that you can use the zakat money in any work of deen. But the important point is that you have to make an individual the malik, the owner of that money. So some people, they give to organizations and they say, here's my zakat money for the organizations. So that is actually incorrect. Why? Your zakat won't be done in that case. Why? Because you haven't given it to an individual. You have to give it to a certain person and make him the malik, the possessor of that money. Only then your zakat will be correct. So now a question comes into mind. So all these charity organizations, even for example Dawat Islami, we take money, but it's a charity organization, it's not an individual. So what actually happens? So in that case, these organizations and these type of charity commissions and etc., they have a leniency in terms of Sharia, and that leniency is known as a Shari Hila. A Shari Hila, and this basically means that they appoint an individual who zakat is applicable upon, so you can pay your zakat to that individual. So for example, there might be a miskeen on the road, and they will say to him that I am giving you this zakat money, and you accept it, and then he will gift back that zakat money himself to the organization. So they will take your zakat money, they will give it to that person will take it, and then he will give it back to the organization, and if he wants, he can take a share from that as well. In that case, that money that you gave, your zakat has now been done. Why? Because you have given it to an individual and you have made him the possessor of it, the malik of it. But now when he gifted that back, that money is no longer the zakat money. It's actually his own personal money that he gifted back as a gift. So money that's gifted, you can use that in any way. It's not zakat money, it's gifted money. So that's how the organizations now use that money, that gifted money, in their works of deen or in their helping of the poor and needy, in orphans, making buildings, paying the wages of the ulama, these type of things. That is the way. It's called a shari hila, and it is used due to a necessity, because people unfortunately don't pay money to organizations to run Islamic causes and to run orphanages and stuff like that. So we have to use this way as a darura, as a necessity in terms of fulfilling the amount. The next type of person that you can actually give zakat to is a ibn sabil. So a person who is a traveler and he lost his money or his money was looted from him and he has no more money left. So you can actually give him your zakat money, even if that person is a millionaire. So at home, he's a millionaire, but right now, when he was traveling, he's got no money no more, he got looted, he got stolen, so now you can actually give him your zakat. But in today's day and age, I think normally people don't get looted, or if they do, they'll have their bank account with them, so they're not really, completely zero, they'll have a backup anyway. But if, for example, if you went to a place and he completely lost everything, his bank account, no contact or anything, then in that case, yes, he can actually take the zakat. Who you can't give zakat to. So some people who you can't give zakat to, number one is Bani Hashim. So the family of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So who does this include? This includes the offsprings, meaning all the way down to today's day and age of Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu anhu. Okay, so the Sadat Ikram, the Shahs, which are known, you can't give your zakat to them. You can't give to anyone that's from the family of Imam Jafar al-Tayyar, which was the son of Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. You can't give anyone to anyone that's from the family of Sayyidina Aqil radiyallahu anhu, or Harith as well radiyallahu anhu. Any of these families, they are all classed as Bani Hashim, and you cannot give your zakat to them. And these are basically the sons of Abdul Muttalib, okay, the grandfather of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So his sons, their family that goes on, they are all classed as Bani Hashim, and you cannot give your zakat to them. So you might have seen most people are either Hassani and Husseini from Sayyidina Ali, or the Jafari, okay, or the Abbasi or Harithi as well. So you'll see a lot of these common people as well, that they say, I'm a Harithi Sayyid or I'm a Abbasi Sayyid. That means they are from this generation, and you can't give your zakat money to them. Is that a question? Number two is your usul. So what does it mean by your usul? Your usul basically means those that are above you in family. So that means your mother, your father, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, all the way up. Same goes for your father's side as well, all the way up. Your furu, that goes basically all the way down as well. So your daughter, granddaughter, son, grandson, all the way down, great-grandson, all the way down. You can't give to any of them above or below. Your spouse, you can't give money, if you're a husband, you can't give money to your wife, and vice versa. Number five, a rich man's child. So for example, if there is a child in Nabalig, but his father is rich, but he doesn't have no money, that child doesn't have no money, you still can't pay zakat to him, because he is still classified as rich due to his father. Number six, someone who has enough gold or silver, etc., that it calculates to the nisab rate. Okay. Conditions when giving zakat. Number one, intention. When you give your zakat, you have to have the intention of zakat. I'm paying this money is as zakat money. Only then it will be classified as zakat. And number two is the making the needy, or the one that you give the zakat to, the owner of that money as well. So what normally people do as well is they say, take this money and it's zakat money, but go and buy your books with it. You can't do that. That won't be accepted. You have to just give him the money and make him the malik of that money, the possessor. Now it's his opportunity or his right to either buy books with it or buy toys with it. Okay, so it's up to him to use that money in any way. You have to just make him the malik, the owner of that money. Frequently asked questions, and then we're going to finish off inshallah. So zakat on haram money, is zakat, do you have to pay zakat on haram money? No. If you give zakat on haram money, it's actually sinful, and there is no zakat on haram money, because this comes under the same category as money that has been snatched from someone. So because that money that has been snatched from someone, it's not your money, your possession, you have to give it back. So zakat is not necessary upon that money. So same goes for the ulama kiram has said that the same goes for the money that is haram. Mortgage, yes, zakat is due upon mortgage. If you have mortgage, you have to pay your zakat. Still, it's not classed as a complete debt. You just have to minus the monthly or yearly the payment. Giving medicine, etc. as zakat. Can you give medicine as zakat, or rice, or chawal as zakat? Yes, you can. But same goes with it. You have to make him the malik of it and let him do anything that he wants with that. So you can't say here, here's the medicine, but I'll feed you the medicine myself. You can't do that. Why? Because you're actually not giving him the full possession. Same goes with chawal. I'll cook you chawal and give that as zakat. No, you can't. You have to just give him the chawal. If he wants, he can cook it. If he wants, he can sell it. Okay, so you have to basically give him the full possession. If I've got more than one house, okay, I've got one house here, one house in Birmingham, and another house in London, do I have to pay zakat on the houses? It depends. Number one, if you brought them houses for with the intention that I'm going to be using this in business, then yes, because it will come under the business stock. But if you brought them for the intention that I'm going to just put them on rent, or I'm going to use them later on, maybe I'll travel there and I'm going to stay in that house for some time and then travel back. So in that case, zakat is not necessary upon that. It is not necessary. But what will be necessary is the money that comes out from it. So the rent that you get from that, you will have to put that into the total when calculating it, because it comes into your account.
So it won't be the total stock value of the house?
It won't be the stock value of the house, it will only be the rent that you gave. Does zakat have to be given only in Ramadan? So some people believe that no, I have to only give my zakat in Ramadan. No. Zakat has to be paid as soon as the date of your nisab has basically come. So if you became sahib nisab on the 1st of Muharram, you will have to pay your zakat on the 1st of Muharram, for example. The jewelry that you are wearing, or sister, the jewelry that they are wearing, some people believe that no, because I'm wearing it, it comes under usage or hajat asliya. So that's incorrect. Any gold that you have in your possession, whether you're wearing it or not, you still have to pay zakat on it. Money for hajj or marriage. Some people keep some money aside for hajj, or I'm going to keep this money for my daughter's marriage. Zakat is still due upon that money. You still have to pay zakat whether or not you're going to be using it for hajj or marriage or whatever you're going to be using it for. You still have to pay zakat for it if it's in your possession. Zakat on household items. So some people believe, I have to pay zakat on a house, I have to pay zakat on my fridge, I've got extra books, I've got extra cars. There's no zakat on these type of stuff. You don't have to pay zakat on extra cars, whether you're using them or not. You don't have to pay zakat on extra household items, TVs, whatever it is. There's no zakat on that. The zakat is only to be given on your money, gold, wealth, and your business stock. Some people believe diamonds. I've got diamonds in my possession. I've got a diamond ring. Do I have to pay zakat on it? No. There's no zakat on stones, which is, for example, diamond and marble and stuff like that. Giving food, etc. as zakat. Yes, you can give food as zakat, but with the condition that you're going to make the person the owner of it. Zameen or Koti in Pakistan. So some people believe, I've got Zameen in Pakistan, I've got Koti in Pakistan, I have to pay zakat on it. That's not the case. You don't have to pay zakat on your Zameen or your Koti in Pakistan, only if you brought it with the intention of business. Only then you have to pay your zakat on it. Even if it's empty, no one's living in that Koti, still not in your use, you still don't have to pay zakat. You do not have to pay zakat on it. So that was it, just some frequently asked questions.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, so any question from your side? Yep.
Yeah, so I've had this question before, and just listening to that, I'd like to just confirm again, because the answer was slightly different. So, for example, if the full year passes by and you set a date and you do your odds and mids and you calculate your zakat, and that zakat is, let's say, well, whatever it is, £1,000. So long as you don't know if you might take some time finding out where to give it to, the right place or whatever the reason may be.
Yeah.
So long as you just keep it aside in a separate place that, okay, this is a card, I've calculated it, but don't pay it there and then, that's okay, I was told. Is that so?
That is okay-ish, meaning that it's better not to do that because you should, before the date actually comes, look into that before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be paying my zakat here and here because my date is coming up soon, and then as soon as the date comes, pay it off. But if, for example, you are in the process of finding someone, then that's fine. You can actually keep it to a side.
Or healer or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. So
if you do the shiriki, that's fine as well, yeah.
Can a husband pay on behalf of the wife?
Can the husband pay on behalf of the wife? Yes, he can, but he has to let the wife know that I'm paying your zakat and the amount as well. So then, if there's anything extra or less, she can tell them that, you know, it's actually this much as well. If there's any other questions, you can ask as well, inshallah, and the presentation should be available if you need. It was the first time I just, you know, done it as well, so if there's any improvements or anything that you want me to, you know, add extra or something, then let me know. And
just one of the questions,
Yeah.
sorry, it's just
Yep.
going in quickly. So for example, as a card is, let's say, £1,000, so you give it to someone, now that person is over the threshold, over the £250 threshold.
Yeah.
So what happens in that case? Because as soon as you give them, they've come into
Yeah, so if you're giving someone zakat and now you realize that, you know, he wasn't actually eligible to take zakat, then in that case, that money that you gave, it becomes as a gift or sadaqah, you can say, and you'll have to pay your zakat out again.
No,
Yeah.
what I mean is because £1,000 is over the 250 threshold, so whichever way you do it, even if you give it to a person who's got nothing, you've suddenly got them into that place. So do they have to give zakat on that?
All right. Okay. So
Yeah,
I misunderstood the
Yeah,
question. So if someone took zakat, he was eligible for it. Now that he's got that £1,000 on him, he can't take any. Yeah, he can't take the money extra. Why? Because he is now sahib nisab. So now the day that he got that money, the next year he will have to pay zakat on it if he keeps it with him. Is that understood?
Yeah, but surely as soon as it gets into the £151, so your zakat is not done, is it? Because you've
You mean
got
the
them-
remainder of zakat?
Yeah.
No, as soon as you give the lump sum, that's fine. Even if within that lump sum he reaches that nisab amount, it's fine.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Okay.
I might have a few questions, but I might text.
Okay, that's fine. If you have any questions, you have my number as well, you can text. A few books I wanted to mention. Number one is this Kitab al-Zakat, very good, it's in Urdu. This one is a very good collection of keywords, a glossary of Islamic terms. So Islamic terms will be used a lot in the courses. So this is by Aisha Bewley, that's a very good English book, goes over the Islamic terms. And then there's this Urdu book called Fazane Farz Ulum. Okay, so this goes over those knowledges which is further for you to learn. So these are a few books, Bahari Shade obviously, one of the main ones. Few books that you can read over, and I mostly took a lot of from the slide from this book and also this book as well, and also there was another book of Dawud Islami which is called Fazane Zakat. So Jazakallah Khairan, please. Sorry?
On the windowsill. It's a poster.
Oh yeah, sorry.
On the windowsill.
Okay. This course was organized under Dawud Islami, and Alhamdulillah, Dawud Islami has different other courses and activities and events that take place. Another event that's going to be taking place, mashallah, brothers from Sheffield have also arrived as well today, and they posted this live on Facebook on Dawud Islami Sheffield live events. You can have a look at that. If you want, you can add me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll share the link to you, inshallah. The event is Youngsters Paradise. This is going to be held on the 14th of October at 5 p.m. inshallah. In
6:15 p.m.
sorry, 6:15 p.m. after Maghrib Salah in Hanfiya Masjid Tinsley, and the talker will be Habeeb Attari.
Shiraz Attari.
Shiraz Attari, inshallah. Very beautiful talker. He's very beautiful talker, mashallah. You'll listen to him and straight away your mind will change. He's very beautiful, inshallah. If you type him on YouTube, you can search up for him as well, Shiraz Attari. Very beautiful talker. And he's going to be talking on the topic of gangster's paradise. So please do make this prevalent as well. And we want more and more activities to occur in this masjid as well, inshallah. So we, inshallah, some weeks I travel on Madani Qafla as well, which is basically we go to different masajid to learn the sunnahs, and we go through these type of stuff as well. So in them weeks I'll let you know as well. And if you have time, you can travel with me as well, inshallah. And also, we have our weekly gatherings at 8 p.m. on Thursdays as well, inshallah. Every Thursdays at 8 p.m. in Rotherham, Faizan Medina. We also have our gatherings there in which you can participate, inshallah. And for the sisters, if the responsible sisters in the area for their ijtima'at as well, their gatherings, and they can attend them as well, inshallah. For more information, you can contact me on my WhatsApp number or on my Instagram or Facebook pages, and inshallah, I'll send the links of this out to you as well, the live feed. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.